Hello, Talk Cosmos Chat, January 4th, and I am Sue Rose MInahan of Talk Cosmos with Sara Stromley. And we are talking about the Georgia Atlanta election review. Sara is with me on the Moonbeam team with Talk Cosmos and Brain Body Therapy. You can find that on Talk Cosmos. And today we will begin with the chart for tomorrow. And Sara, as I pull it up, feel free to say anything you want. There we go. Okay.
I think we're going to be looking at the event chart
That's
for
what it is. And you can see
the
it.
time of the event close, which is January 5th, 7 p.m. in Atlanta.
Correct. Yes.
So one thing that just really jumps out at us here is there's just the fixedness of the ascendant, meaning it's going to be dramatic, maybe, or just capture everyone's attention.
In Leo, yes.
Yes, but this is already, this is such a big event. We feel it, we sense it. We know that there's a lot of money being funneled through the city. And you can see the big grand square that you can catch from an earlier episode with Liz, where she discusses the grand mutable square.
That is, if I may say, from the full moon, but still because it concerns the nodes and Neptune, which move very slowly, and Vesta down here, it remains. It's still standing as a grand square energy. Yes.
And what was your takeaway from that discussion with
Well,
Liz?
I think in a nutshell, as far as this particular chart is concerned, is the nodes of the Sagittarius South node, where Venus is conjunct, and widely conjunct, and the communicate of belief systems with our communicative North node in Gemini is squared by powers greater than our destiny, than our control in Neptune in Pisces, and the hearth. So I think it just signifies, let's just go on, because what you're indicating, which I like, is the fact that it's so significant of now is that this Jupiter Saturn conjunction, which is the grand mutable mutation, because it signifies 200 years of air energy leaving the earth energies, is in their 7th house, isn't it, in Atlanta?
Right on that. It's on a very sensitive point on the descendant. So this is involving the other, the competitor, and the harbinger of change.
Yes.
So.
Ground zero. And it is also involving the transiting square with Mars and Uranus in their 10th house. Again, it's out of sign, but in degree, it is a square, and Uranus, ruling the modern ruler of Uranus, is in that square that both planets of Saturn and Jupiter are applying to it. So there's tremendous tension. And isn't this amazing to recognize that in Atlanta at their election hour, where all of this will be completed as of tomorrow, that here it represents in their 7th house of other, with the law of, well, the natural house of
authority and politics.
Yes. Yeah.
And Eris there, the excluded one, a representative of that, is in a very tight square with Pluto.
And she is 23
power,
degrees.
Yeah, just a big power play that's going on that we're all seeing, because this is a very historical day and a very historical moment for our country's future and the lay of the land of how politics are going to play out, not only for the next 4 years, but possibly for a long time afterwards.
And
So,
Eris, I'm glad you brought her up. And for those people that aren't aware, she is that little symbol at the top of the chart with the circle and the arrow pointing down. And she is 23 degrees Aries. She stays in a sign for about 500 years. So it's a very slow moving point, and it will remain in that point for some time. And so right now, she is exactly conjunct, as you say, the midheaven. And the history, just briefly, of Eris is that she was the goddess of discord and strife, not intentionally, but she brought up the uncomfortable questions of because she had been left out of that now represents inclusion. So that does become a real theme here, is right off the bat, I think, establishing that
the dynamic of service and how our leaders are going to be serving us going
yes.
forward. Yeah.
Shall we look at Georgia now?
Yes.
Okay. Or no, it was Atlanta. I think that's what you were hoping to do. We were looking at Atlanta. Am I right?
Sure.
Okay, and that was December 10th, 1836 at 9:11 a.m. in Atlanta. It could be small for some people. So here we have, just remembering what you had said, was that in an earlier talk, that Capricorn is the ascendant with, go ahead, Sarah, with Saturn at the MC.
Yeah. So Saturn's so Saturn's also a big marker in this chart. It's on a very sensitive point, and this involves the law, like how the laws are going to be played out, and the big power plays with Scorpio there. And what really jumps out to me is the transits, which we'll be covering here, is how transiting Pluto, that has been squaring their natal Pluto, is also more closely conjuncting the ascendant, which is where we leave the sense of spiritual connection to everything and the belief systems that we've had, and going into, okay, how are we going to re-identify ourselves now? It's a death and rebirth of how of our ego, essentially, or
Well,
and the ego of, yeah.
Well, I'm very glad you brought up Pluto at about 25 degrees Capricorn. I think it's just coming into that, and because actually the United States of America has our natal Pluto at 27 degrees Capricorn, meaning that Atlanta could be significantly involved, or else, as I might add to what you've said about when Pluto enters the first house, it's transformational of in a deep emotional restructuring of, not just restructuring, it's like purging, it's metamorphosis at its best. So here we're seeing it with Atlanta.
And that's that big, great conjunction that we had of Jupiter and Saturn. That's happening right close to their ascendant and right on Neptune. And this is going to continue to get hit, bam, 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 with all these other things colliding and bumping into this through square aspects throughout January. So
very true, because there'll be a stellium. There's 6 planets and Pallas Athena in, very good point, in Aquarius. And the other thing about Pluto is it wants power versus powerlessness, because it's like the snake shedding its skin. It needs to always have soul growth. And really looking at this with Capricorn rising, with Saturn at its midheaven in Scorpio, which again is ruled by Mars traditionally, or Pluto, it will be pivotal to go from, perhaps this is what the question is, which is also with that great conjunction in their first house. Is it going to be the tradition, or is it going to be a new social order of community? Oh my goodness, it looks like we've actually come to our 10 minutes. Well, this is delightful. Sarah, this is very powerful. We didn't look at the three of, but we could see that this is strong. Well, thank you. We'll come back tomorrow with another edition to follow through with this. This is a long sequential story. Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll continue again.
Yeah.
Part 2.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.